Hello, friends. This is Sam Cheney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's March 26, 2026. A lot of sixes today. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday edition of Weaponized News. We have, hopefully we can get the Santa Cruz Mountain Goat, Michael Oxford, on. He may be able to join us in the second hour. So we're hoping we can get him on the show, go over a bunch of California politics and the fallout, all this insanity. Another biolab was discovered yesterday in Southern California. I think that's number 3 now. How many of these Chinese aardvark land run biolabs are there in the country? Apparently an awful lot. First one was discovered here in Reedley, California. We reported extensively at it. I went to the site, did interviews, the whole big reporting routine there. You can find that at weaponizednews.com. So we'll cover that today. Hopefully we can get Santa Cruz Mountain Goat Michael Oxford on in the second half of the show here, as he tells me he's in transit from work to his home studio. Okay, what do we got in the news today? Schizophrenia out of the White House. These are insane people, man. These are insane people. Well, we got Mr. Technocracy, J.D. Vance, talking about the Iranians were going to use nuclear suicide vests. It's literally made up bullshit. We got that ridiculousness. We've got this sketchy, they're running psyops right out of the White House off their social media accounts in the middle of a war, in the middle of a recession, dare I say depression economically here now. And they think it's all a game. It is to them apparently, but for the rest of us, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. We got religious fanatics. Pete Hegseth prays for violence. Okay, these people are sick in the head. Seriously. We got all this to cover for you. Again, Trump says we won the war. Iran says they're looking to mobilize how many? 1 million troops for ground invasion, something like this. We got these reports. And then more lying out of the White. Are they just, there's the apologists, there's the Trump cover-uppers, whatever you want to call them, the Trump apologists that say, oh, they're just duping Trump. He has bad intelligence. Well, either way, he's unfit for duty. Either he's corrupt, evil, beyond imagination, as per Epstein said, right? Or he's incompetent and not fit for duty, however you may see it. But he's making claims that are being debunked about this war that are flat out lies. We'll cover this today. It's like every day though. Every day here now. We wonder why the Epstein files are being covered up. You have the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche at this CPAC meeting bragging about extrajudicial executions. That's straight up murder. So you have the Assistant Attorney General for the United States bragging about straight up murdering people at CPAC. It's beyond disturbing at this point. They're straight up gangster capitalism. What are you going to do? They'll shoot you in the face. And so they're destroying any moral high ground that America could have ever laid a claim to here now. This corrupt Trump administration. What else do we got? We got economic reporting, quite a bit of economic reporting, and geopolitical news, more on the war front. They're stacking bodies, more on the Epstein cover up. And again, hopefully we get Michael Oxford on in hour 2 to go over California. They're talking about here in California, the hospice fraud. It's just fraud upon fraud upon fraud upon fraud. No one in the government ever gets in trouble. And so the fraud will continue until they have destroyed the economic value of the dollar to the point no one will even take it. I'm surprised that anybody even does take it. I guess when the U.S. points a gun right in your face and says, take it or we shoot you in the face, that's kind of some incentive to keep dealing in the U.S. dollar. But as we continue to report, story of the year, the U.S. government's insolvent according to their own financial statements. The news just hasn't got out yet, apparently. But again, the federal government is an organized crime syndicate running a protection racket where they literally put a gun in your face and say, you're doing business with us or we kill you. That's where we're at. Let's get to this day in history for you. On this day in our history of March 26, we go back to the year 1804. 1804, Congress orders removal of Indians east of the Mississippi to Louisiana. 1812, on this day in Caracas, Venezuela, an earthquake measuring 7.7 on the Richter scale destroys 90% of Caracas, Venezuela, and kills an estimated between 15 and 20,000 people there in Venezuela on this day, 1812. Quite a tragic event there. Talk about religious fanatics. Here's another one. 1820. Future Mormon church leader Joseph Smith has his first vision in a wooded area of New York, according to Mormon scholars. Moving forward 10 years on this day in 1830, the Book of Mormon is published in Palmyra, New York. In 1863, on this day, voters in West Virginia approved gradual emancipation of slaves, slowly turning everyone into slaves without the actual physical chains. Slaves to this corrupt system. We all are now. 1910, on this day, U.S. forbids immigration to criminals, anarchists, paupers, and the sick. 1930, on this day, Congress appropriates $50,000 for Inter-American Highway. Is that where it all started to go bad? But who would build the roads? Well, they're not even building roads in America anymore. 1945, a lot of talk by the warmonger, war criminals out there. Lindsey Graham leading up the charge, but others as well, about the potential ground invasion into Iran, saying, well, we did take Iwo Jima, right? Well, on this day in 1945, allies led by U.S. Marine Corps secure Iwo Jima, secure the island of Iwo Jima from Imperial Japan after 18,000 Japanese and 6,000 Americans are killed. And they go around on the out there on the cable news and act like this is no big deal. None of them, the senators calling for the ground invasion, will be there amongst the invading troops, or neither will any of their family or relatives for that matter, because They are senators. You see, on this day, 1945, we mourn the loss of those Japanese and Americans. To raise the flag, right? This iconic image, they tell us, was it worth it? It wasn't worth it, but there we are. 6,000 dead U.S. soldiers in that event. How many will die in a ground invasion in Iran? There's no telling. There's no telling at this point. Let's pray for peace. Things are escalating. On this day in 1953, Dr. Jonah Salk announces he has successfully tested a miracle to prevent polio. Clinical trials begin the following year. And we could do a whole season of shows just about that, but due to censorship, we'll move on. In 1970, on this day, the 500th nuclear explosion announced by the United States since 1945. And so regardless of if nukes are real, nukes are not, the pronouncement of 500 nuclear explosions since 1945, proudly announced by the U.S. government. These are a bunch of crazy people, you see, and they've been crazy for a long time now, running the U.S. government, just stacking bodies everywhere. They don't give a damn. They're praying for violence now out of the Department of War. 1975, on this day, the Biological Weapons Convention enters into force, and then every country signed on to it went about subsequently breaking that convention. We do appreciate these fake conventions out there in the international community. In 2019, on this day, the maker of OxyContin, Purdue Pharma, agrees to pay Oklahoma $270 million settlement ahead of trial accusing the company of fueling the opioid epidemic. So they paid the cost of doing business to the state of California in this case on this day, 2019, $270 million. I guess that's the price to not get whacked by U.S. Southcom, because they're bragging now about killing the alleged narco traffickers that are getting America addicted to fentanyl and opioids. And yet Purdue Pharma in 2019 pays a $270 million settlement. You see the problem here. In 2020, on this day, America cases of bats exceed all other countries on this date, with 81,578 cases and 1,180 bat deaths. And that's a report out of the failing New York Times. And they neglect to mention the fact that the PCR test was used to diagnose positive cases. All of that is left out of the reporting here now. Let's not ever forget, they're still using that same PCR test today for your diagnoses, which has been thoroughly debunked, but who cares? They did have a big time censorship around it all, didn't they? All right. Here's our segue to Mr. Technocracy, liar, head of the anti-fraud task force, and he is a fraud, telling another whopper of a lie right here, J.D. Vance, to lead us into the news.
When I say options, I think it's important the American people know options for what? And it's options to ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. You talk about people who walk into a crowded supermarket and have a vest on, and they blow up the vest and a couple of people get killed, and that's a terrible tragedy. What happens when what's on the vest is not something that can kill a couple of people, but can kill many, many tens of thousands of people? That is the most important American national security objective that exists for any administration at any time, is you don't want the worst people in the world to have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president is doing this. That's why the president cares so much about this particular issue.
I Iranian terrorists are wearing nuclear suicide vests. They're reaching hard here. Here is propaganda out of the White House official X account. They're pumping the PSYOP bullshit. This is literally the president, I guess, is what they're telling us. Very pixelated, hard to see. The further you look back at the image, you can make out it's Trump. It's beyond the pale of disgusting at this point in the war. They're putting out this bullshit, Fed slop propaganda. Here's this weird, stupid, another one. No, what it means is your government's incompetent and they're pieces of shit, corrupt war criminals, not some secret code they're coming to save you. They put this one out last night, like joking about a potential nuclear launch. And that's the bullshit coming out of this White House. Americans are dying. Iranians are dying. Aardvarks are dying. Lebanese people are dying all over the place. And they're playing these games. Iranian Foreign Minister Argachai says United States messages were relayed through intermediaries, denies negotiations. Trump's been saying we're negotiating with Iran. Iran says they're not negotiating. So what is going on at the White House? Like, seriously, is the team that's running this war lying to Trump? We had the report yesterday. Oh, Trump's briefed on the Iran war every day by 2-minute montage videos explaining the victories of the U.S. military. Like, that was reported by NBC News. Is any of this even remotely true? If so, we're in deep, deep trouble here as a country. Trump is disconnected from reality now in an insulated bubble of Zionist propaganda, apparently, or maybe he just loves it and that is his mindset. There's a lot of evidence that speaks to that he's not duped or fooled. He loves all of this. Either way you look at it, we're in deep trouble here now. We have religious fanatical maniacs on both ends of this thing that are praying for violence. Back to the Iranian foreign minister. According to Iranian journalist Fresh Sadig, surprised I don't whack this guy. How dare you be an Iranian journalist? Anyway, according to this Iranian journalist, the Iranian foreign minister confirmed to Iranian state television, that the United States had sent several messages through friendly countries in recent days proposing ideas that were relayed to Iran's highest ranking leadership. He stated that any response would be officially declared if deemed necessary. He rejected claims by U.S. President Trump that such exchanges amounted to negotiations, stressing that the communication was limited to an exchange of messages and warnings, not talks or diplomatic engagement. He emphasized that receiving and responding to U.S. messages does not constitute negotiations. Iran's foreign minister also said several countries requested safe passage for their ships through the Strait of Hormuz, noting that Iran agreed to allow vessels from China, Russia, India, Bangladesh, and Iraq to pass. He added that Iran had warned all countries against escalating the conflict by deploying armed forces in the strategic waterway. He further warned that Iran would strike U.S. interests wherever they are found and consider any country joining U.S. military actions as a legitimate target. He stated that regional countries had previously been warned about the consequences of escalation, but did not take the warning seriously, adding that Iran had only targeted installations with U.S. shareholders and described Iran's actions as fair. Because they keep telling us in U.S. media and the White House, we don't know why. Nobody saw it coming that Iran would actually fight back. You know what I mean? We don't know why they're attacking all of the Middle East. Well, they've made it explicitly clear they're specifically targeting U.S. assets in the region. But it's lost in translation, I guess, for the propagandists here selling us lies in America. Here's these maniacs, more from Vance. This guy's not a Christian. He's a transhumanist chameleon who will change into anything he believes will score him political points.
I'm very mindful, of course, that we have a lot of folks overseas fighting very ably for the United States of America. I know Pete and the whole team, we're very proud of them, but they're fighting at a time where we're about to enter as Christians the most important week of the Christian calendar, the Holy Week that celebrates the return of Jesus Christ to Jerusalem. And so I want to say to all of my fellow American Christians, but particularly those serving in the Gulf, that I wish you all a very blessed Easter, a very blessed Holy Week, and we continue to stand behind you and continue to support you.
There you go. And now go die for Zog. Pete Hegseth prays for violence against those who deserve no mercy while hosting First Christian service. Oh, we have the video of it. So yeah, both sides are religious fanatics. Here's little Marco Rubio telling us about the Iranian religious fanatics.
And that is what he is doing. From the very first night of this operation, the president made it very clear. People like this, and now what I'm talking about is not the people of Iran. The people that run this country are radical Shia clerics. These are religious fanatics. Look what they are doing now. At their weakest point, this is the weakest Iran has ever been, and look at what they're doing. They're attacking embassies. They're attacking hotels. Imagine what these people would do if they had a nuclear weapon. That is an unacceptable risk for the world. By the way, the president's not just doing a favor to the United States and to our people. This is for the world.
It's helping everybody, you see. They leave out, they continue to leave out of these briefings. Iran has explicitly stated they're targeting U.S. assets and U.S. troops in the region. They always leave that part out. Here's a religious fanatic, Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, praying for violence. It's not good. Religious fanatic, Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, turned the Pentagon into a pulpit leading a Christian worship service where he invoked Psalms 144 to call for divine wrath and overwhelming violence against U.S. enemies in a tone indistinguishable from ISIS and Al-Qaeda, indistinguishable from the radicals out of Iran as well.
Almighty God, who trains our hands for war and our fingers for battle, you who stirred the nations from the north against Babylon of old, making her land a desolation where none dwell. Behold now the wicked who rise against your justice and the peace of the righteous. Snap the rod of the oppressor, frustrate the wicked plans, and break the teeth of the ungodly. By the blast of your anger, let the evil perish. Let their bulls go down to slaughter, for their day has come, the time of their punishment. Pour out your wrath upon those who plot vain things and blow them away like chaff before the wind. Grant this task force clear and righteous targets for violence. Surround them as a shield, protect the innocent and blameless in their midst. Make their arrows like those of a skilled warrior who returned not empty-handed. Let every round find its mark against the enemies of righteousness and our great nation. Give them wisdom in every decision, endurance for the trial ahead, unbreakable unity and overwhelming violence of action against those who deserve no mercy. Preserve their lives, sharpen their resolve, and let justice be executed swiftly and without remorse, that evil may be driven back and wicked souls delivered to the eternal damnation prepared for them. For the wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. We ask these things with bold confidence in the mighty and powerful name of Jesus Christ, King over all kings, and amen. Amen. And may the righteous be as bold as a lion. May we pray such prayer for our men and women in harm's way right now, to think that such Americans exist on our behalf, on behalf of the
We're in bad shape. CNN's reporting the U.S. has moved all pieces into the region for a massive ground invasion of Iran. Let's watch this report.
Well, Audie, whatever the president ultimately decides about a ground operation in Iran, all the pieces are now in the region to carry one out. And it's not just the 1,000 paratroopers. You have Marines deployed to the region, and then all the forces, the air transport, etc., that one would require to put troops on the ground, whether that be, you've heard the discussion of Karg Island, which is so central to Iran's energy industry, or perhaps along the shores of the Strait of Hormuz to secure the Strait of Hormuz. We don't know, and ultimately it's up to the president, but at least the pieces are in place. So we're left in a situation not unlike where we were 4 weeks ago before the start of the war, where you have two tracks at the same time. You have diplomatic discussions with Iran, or at least now laying the groundwork for those discussions, with an enormous military buildup. We saw what happened 4 weeks ago. The president chose the military option, saying that the talks weren't going anywhere. So we're left in that situation again. Will the president decide that the talks aren't going anywhere in his view and then deploy further military action up to and including ground forces? We don't know.
Like, seriously, what the F is going on? Is the president being duped? Like, Iran says they're not even having negotiations. They're working through intermediaries. Like, are little Marco, Vance, Kushner, Witkoff, are they just lying to Trump? I don't know. Trump seems very arrogant. He seems very disconnected. Here he is on Iran.
Be the first to know. Pete, let's get the hell out of there. I'm the opposite of desperate. I don't care. I want to know. In fact, we have other targets we want to hit before we leave. We're hitting them on a daily basis. No, I don't talk.
He's the opposite of desperate. He doesn't care. He's indifferent about a war going on right now. And by the way, again, we keep warning here at Weaponized News, you don't have to be in the service. This has put a target on every American's back, you see. But Trump don't care. He got a bunch of guns guarding him. But you and I are at risk for what these maniacs are doing here now. More from the White House. The party of fraudsters, criminals, radicals, illegal aliens, and putting America last is not what we stand for. And so you could just pull out, little projection there from Trump talking about his own administration. They're the party of fraudsters, criminals, radicals. I guess you could say all this about the Trump administration, I guess, except for illegal aliens. But they are, Trump administration, the party of fraudsters, criminals, and radicals. That's for sure. Here now. Do we believe this? Are they staging this stuff up with patsies? An IED was placed at MacDill Air Force Base, home of CENTCOM and U.S. Special Operations Command. So the FBI posted this. A Fox News headline from the FBI. Yeah, seems appropriate from these clowns. A brother and sister have been indicted. One is in custody for accessory and evidence tampering, and the primary suspect is charged with explosives offenses and is currently in China. The FBI is working with our partners. We'll continue to pursue all those responsible and ensure they are brought to justice, no matter where they are. Sure, there, Patel. This was earlier in the day from Trump, and we've got an update. But this was earlier. This was this morning. The Iranian negotiators are very different and strange. They are begging us to make a deal, which they should be doing since they have been militarily obliterated with zero chance of a comeback. And yet they publicly state they are only looking at our proposal. Wrong. They better get serious soon before it's too late, because once that happens, there is no turning back. What the hell, man? Is it Kushner on the other end of the line talking to Trump in a freaking broken Arabic accent? What is going on here? Seriously, just a giant amount of psyops. Trump is Zog, and they just keep running psyops on us. Here's our Iranian military spokes guy. This guy's always all pissed off.
خواهد ماند وضع تنگه به قبل باز نمیگردد اتفاقی میافتد که ما اراده کنیم.
No English translation. What is he saying all pissed off here? He's saying that we have rewritten the maritime rules. The decision to grant a transit permit to a ship rests solely with us. Talking about safe passage there through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, what is going on? Is this is all cover psyops going on, and they're really all on the same team? Are they lying to Trump? Doesn't even matter at this point. They're playing some kind of game, and it's sick and evil, and they're not acting like we're in a war where people are dying. Americans are dying, for God's sake. And these clowns are playing games. Here's Steve Witkoff. How does this asshole even have a job? His failure at diplomacy resulted in this war, but yet he still has a job. Here he is at the briefing today.
I can report to you today that we have, along with your foreign policy team, presented a 15-point action list that forms the framework for a peace deal. This has been circulated through the Pakistani government, acting as the mediator. And this has resulted in strong and positive messaging in talks, as you just indicated to the press. But these are sensitive diplomatic discussions, and you have directed us to maintain confidentiality on the specific terms and not negotiate through the news media as others do. I can say this: we will see where things lead, and if we can convince Iran that this is the inflection point.
How are they going to negotiate with Witkoff? Everything by the Omen dude, the mediator in the last meeting, everything was going smooth, very positive direction. A couple hours later, it's a freaking bombing campaign against Iran. Witkoff is the lead negotiator. Give me a freaking break. Iran's not stupid. Trump on Iran, the reason they want to make a deal is they have just beat to shit. Really? Does Iran have all of these secret underground military facilities? Maybe.
They said yesterday
that we weren't negotiating with them, and now they admit that we were negotiating with them. So they want to make a deal. The reason they want to make a deal is they have been just beat to shit.
Yeah, very professional there. Beat to shit. Another, like, what's going on? Just flat out lies here. Flat out lies. Trump yesterday said Iran gave us a gift. Turns out that gift was letting some ships pass through the Strait of Hormuz without being shot at. Here it is today, and it's already been debunked as this is a lie.
We have very substantial talks going on with respect to Iran with the right people. You know, I told you about a present, right? Steve, can I reveal the present?
You can do anything you want.
Thank you. They said to show you the fact that we're real and solid and we're there, we're going to let you have 8 boats of oil. 8 boats, 8 big boats of oil. This was 2 days ago. And they'll sail up tomorrow. That was 3 days ago. And I didn't think much about it. And then I watched the news, and they said, a very good anchor, actually. Happened to be Fox. But I watched it, and he said, something's unusual happening. There are 8 boats that are going right up the middle of the Hormuz Strait. 8 big tankers are going loaded up with oil right through. And I said, well, I guess they were right, and they were real. And I think they were Pakistani flagged. And
if we're to believe any of this, Trump's admitting he's getting his war intel from Fox News, the war channel propagandists. Tanker tracking data compiled by Bloomberg shows no sign of the 8 boats full of oil that are going right up the middle of the Strait of Hormuz that Trump had mentioned in the briefing that we just showed you the video of. Somebody's lying here. And I'm willing to bet it's Fox News. And we're to believe Trump is getting his war briefings from Fox News. That's what he just said. Again, Trump says they're begging to make a deal. Not me. They are begging to make a deal. Again, who's he talking to? Witkoff in a broken Arab accent on a freaking shoe phone? Meanwhile, Iran is reportedly ready to deploy over 1 million fighters if the U.S. launches a ground invasion, according to Tassim News, citing an IRGC source. It's only gotten worse, and they are more radical than the previous supreme commander here. Now, hardliners in Iran are increasingly pushing for the country to pursue a nuclear bomb and possibly withdraw from the nuclear non-proliferation treaty. This shift comes after the death of Ayatollah Khomeini. I don't know who said that. Many, our own intelligence said that. But Trump just listens to Kushner and Little Marco and Witkoff, apparently, according to Trump. Now you whack the old Khomeini, and a more radical version is going to fill that void of Iranian leadership. And that is exactly what has happened now. An ongoing U.S. aardvark land attacks, which have strengthened the influence of the Revolutionary Guard. While Iran has not officially changed its nuclear policy, debate within the leadership is growing, with some arguing a bomb is now necessary for survival. Report out of Reuters. What's this report? Iranian officials, this is a drop site. Jeremy Scahill's reporting. Says that Iranian officials tell me that Iran submitted its proposal terms and conditions for ending the war via intermediaries. That's exactly what the foreign minister said. The U.S. has not responded. Trump keeps falsely claiming Iran is begging the U.S., but it is Trump emissaries who are repeatedly been asking for talks. Both sides, again, who freaking knows? Both sides are like, they're begging for a deal. Probably nobody is, but the missiles keep flying. It's just, come on, man. Here's the Iranian parliamentary speaker, Ghalibaf. The Iranians are putting out official statements. It's like, I don't understand what's the disconnect, but apparently there's a big one with your fake news in the way. How about just read what the foreign minister is actually saying? I don't know. Or keep listening to Fox News and see how far this disaster goes. Here's the Iranian parliament speaker, Ghalibaf. He says, nation of Iran's champion, your 25 nights of presence in the streets and the sacrifices of the armed forces have created the conditions for a historic victory for dear Iran. No one can issue an ultimatum to Iran and the Iranian people. Your children will not let this opportunity slip away until the complete realization of victory and the breaking of the ominous cycle of war, ceasefire, war. CENTCOM earlier today, another one of these drone whacking videos. Who even knows if any of this is real, right? Allegedly it's real. U.S. CENTCOM says U.S. forces continue to eliminate threats presented by the Iranian regime, striking over 10,000 targets since the start of Operation Epstein Fury. Epic Fury. U.S. State Department transferred $1.25 billion of foreign aid funds for international disasters and peacekeeping to Trump's Board of Peace. Report out of Samford. And so it's a straight up racketeering, protection racket, organized crime, the Board of Peace, as the genocide in Gaza continues. Packed with a bunch of war profiteers and war criminals. But hey, we stole all Venezuela's oil. Here's Trump bragging about that. Oh, and we stole a bunch of their gold too, by the way, out of Venezuela.
Venezuela, where Chris and I both had a chance to be there. I literally think they're going to put up a statue to President Trump, and it's not a political statement. It's an actual thing.
So. That would be a great honor.
No, because it's like they view President Trump like Simon Bowler. He's the liberator of a country, and this is a country where they love American baseball. You look on the street, they're wearing NBA jerseys, and Delcy and her team working with us, getting back. Chris and I both experienced it was the first time in Venezuelan history that they had the free press allowed to come on to essentially where the White House, the Palacio Miraflores, and it was an emotional thing for people that had been for 20 years had never had a chance to be there. So whether it's and then production, it's showing up in production. The American companies that are coming back, most of those American companies have many American Venezuelan team members. One company in Houston's got 600 Venezuelan Americans that know more about reviving that industry. So their GDP is it 1/4 of what it was before? They want to get back. They remember what it was. Their production on oil production is climbing towards 50% increase just in the 3 months.
There you go. They love us stealing their oil. They're thanking us, actually. Here's this psychopath. Why are they covering up the Epstein files? Because these psychopaths out of the Trump administration are leading the Department of Justice. This is straight up murder. Okay. It's murder, and they're bragging about it. Here is Deputy Attorney General DAG Blanche at CPAC clown conservative conference, bragging about straight up murder. This is going to come back and bite us. America, that is.
We are treating drug dealers like the narco terrorists that they are. Okay, and so I met with that's right. I met with an angel mom this morning, an angel grandma who I think is going to speak at some point. And the fact that these men, mostly men, are injecting and sending poison into our country, knowing that it will kill thousands and thousands of Americans, young people, middle-aged people, your neighbors, every single year, makes them terrorists. And President Trump came in and said, I will stop that. We are now treating terrorists and treating these narco dealers as they should be treated. We're blowing them up. And we have the FBI, the DEA, the Marshals, HSI, our Border Patrol.
So those are clown conservatives at CPAC cheering murder. So far, in Operation Southern Sphere, which is a murder campaign waged by the U.S. government against alleged narco drug traffickers, so far, 163 people have been killed in these extrajudicial executions, which is straight up murder, since the beginning of the murders in September of 2025 last year. Cuban doctors say the U.S. oil blockade is causing preventable deaths. Power outages are shutting down life-saving equipment. Shortages and delays put patients at risk. That's a report out of the failing New York Times. Again, Cuba is under siege right now. America's blocking food, medicine, energy, shutting down their hospitals because we care about liberating the Cuban people. More on this insanity. This is going to come back and bite the United States. Hegseth on Iran, we will continue negotiating with bombs. So that's the U.S. national foreign policy now, apparently, is we negotiate with bombs. So straight up gangster capitalism. We're just going to kill everybody now. This will not end well.
To make it happen. But in the meantime, as I said yesterday, the Department of War will continue negotiating with bombs. War is negotiation by other means.
No, it means you've completely failed as a government, is what it means. Little Carol said, narco-terrorist, is that big pharma? Yeah, kind of is. But again, they just pay a fine, the cost of doing business. And we don't even know. Again, arrest them, seize all the drugs, take them to court, and prove your allegations. That's called due process, the rule of law. But apparently we're now just gangster capitalism, and we negotiate with bombs. This is a very dark place we are at. Little Marco Rubio here. Countries around the world, even the ones complaining about this a little bit, should be grateful. See, you should be grateful for U.S. hegemonic world domination, or you'll get shot in the face next.
When President Trump's mission here is achieved. And frankly, I think countries around the world, even those that are out there complaining about this a little bit, should actually be grateful that the United States has a president that's willing to confront a threat like this and not allow it to continue to persist. Because these people will kill as many Americans as they have a chance to do. And if they have a nuclear weapon, as the vice president pointed out.
Yeah, and who just made that target on us that much bigger? These assholes. What did Karen say? We're going to liberate everyone on the planet, even if it kills us and them. And them, Karen. Even if it kills us and them. Truly amazing. New claims. This is the latest out of Trump now. This is the latest. We're still, I guess that's our stated foreign policy now. Well, we just bomb you. Here is the latest out of Trump. He says, as per Iranian government request, please let this statement serve to represent that I am pausing the period of energy plant destruction by 10 days to Monday, April 6th, 2026 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Talks are ongoing, and despite erroneous statements to the contrary by fake news media and others, they are going very well. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Trump is getting nervous because he realizes that all this blow up all of the energy infrastructure is going to have a massive impact on the global economy, and all of that blame is going to be laid squarely at the feet of Trump. It may already be too late. They may have already destroyed too much energy infrastructure in the Middle East here now. Aardvark Times, they want U.S. boots on the ground. Go die, Goyim. Go die for them, Goyim. Official from mediating country, Trump leaning toward ground invasion, convinced Iran will then capitulate. They're not capitulating. You understand? They're not capitulating. More from Aardvark Times here. U.S. said mulling final blow options if Iran talks fail, including sending troops to seize key assets. Axios says possibilities include seizing islands in Strait of Hormuz, blockading ships carrying Iranian oil, sending troops to take regime stockpile of 60% enriched uranium. Is this where the U.S. empire goes to die? It appears that's where Aardvark Zog wants us to go die, right here. This may very well be where Zog sends the U.S. empire to die. Right here. Other news, we got we'll go back to more war reporting here. Hopefully we can get a Mountain Goat to join us at the top of the hour in the second half of the show. Back to domestic news here now. American call centers for American callers. I have to say I do agree with this one coming out of the FCC. FCC proposes call center offshoring American proficiency requirements. I want the scammers that call me saying I owe the IRS, speaking in a thick Indian accent, to have English proficiency in their scam calls. And by the way, scam alert for those not aware, the U.S. government in any tax matters whatsoever, state, federal, local, they will never call you. They will always do it by snail mail. If you didn't already know, be aware. And there's many scammers out now in this tax season. I get them. I get the calls, the scam calls on my phone. And they say, this is the Tax Resolution Center and we have a deal for you. I'm like, really? You're a scam, because that's not how the IRS or the state tax agencies operate. So be aware. Many scams going around. Again, the government will never contact you any other way except through snail mail regarding your tax liability issues. I had a little section here on California reporting to go over with Santa Cruz Mountain Goat. I will hold off on that. Hopefully he will join the stream here soon. We'll come back to the California reporting. Continuing here, Trump signed order to pay TSA agents. So we've lost the plot here completely. Apparently MAGA has anyway. Now we're feeling sympathy for the tyrannical TSA agents that date rape you and send you through the naked body scanners at the airport that induce radiation sickness. And so somehow, some way, and they've never stopped one terrorist because it's all security theater. Somehow, some way, we're supposed to feel sorry for these date raping tyrants. Trump signs order to pay TSA agents as the ongoing government shutdown continues. Right there. And so, yeah, Trump's part of the problem. He's not reforming the swamp, this corrupt government. He is funding it through executive orders. Homeland Security, fly safe patriots. Like it's hard to get more Orwellian. Here you go. Join ICE.gov, where they've removed all educational and age requirements. So you too can sign up to be a federal thug at join.ice.gov and not carry out mass deportations, but shake down American citizens at the airport. Continuing here, where are we at? Let's take the live commercial break now. We're almost at the top of the hour. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com. Get yourself a holograph sticker, white background sticker, clear sticker. Put it on your laptop, your bumper, your guitar, your work locker, your hard hat, your Cybertruck. Help support independent reporting and analysis brought to you 5 days a week. Broadcasting Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. Weaponizednews.com/shop. We appreciate the patrons to the store. We also take donations, buy me a coffee, Cash App, Bitcoin wallet. All that is in the description below this video. If you want to become a paid subscriber, even though I put out all my work for free, nothing behind a paywall, got kicked off Rockfin for not charging. Become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack page, where I put almost everything we talk about on this show, the links to it for further research. Much documentation about the one world government agenda coming into view here now, all documented there on Weaponized News Substack. All the links for your educational purposes. That is the value of your subscription, because again, we give everything away free. Do like maybe 2 minutes of commercial for a 2-hour show. I don't know where else you find this value, but not many places, that's for sure. Please give us that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. If you can help out monetarily in any way possible, that is also greatly appreciated. Thank you very much to the subscribers and patrons to the store. Give us that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All that's free. All right. Welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Thursday, March 26, 2026 edition. Let's get back into the story of the week. I keep reporting on this every day. Maybe it's just me, but it kind of feels like a big deal. So I will repeat it one more time. I guess I'll just repeat it every day this week. Nobody cares. It's like game over already. It's just nobody seems to notice or care. Again, the U.S. government is insolvent. The Treasury just declared the U.S. insolvent. The media missed it. Report out of Fortune magazine, Steve Hanke. The U.S. government is insolvent. That's not hyperbole. It's the conclusion drawn directly from the Treasury Department's own consolidated financial statements for fiscal year 2025, released last week to near total media silence. The number 6.06 trillion in total assets against 47.78 trillion in total liabilities as of September 30th, 2025. This government is bankrupt. It's insolvent. No one should even listen to what they say. It's a giant con job. According to the government's own consolidated financial statements, the government is insolvent. Like everybody should be running around with their hair on fire screaming this, but yet somehow we're paying troops to go kill people with these pieces of paper. I guess because it has that pyramid with the all-seeing eye, that makes everything okay. The government's insolvent. All they have is a big gun to point at your face at this point. That's literally where we're at. Take our fiat money with the all-seeing eye on the back of it, or we shoot you in the face. That's where we're at. Our foreign policy is to bomb you. The U.S. government is insolvent. Red alert, red alert, red alert. Continuing. U.S. mortgage rates have jumped for a fourth straight week, reaching the highest point in 6 months, according to Bloomberg. But I thought we're in the golden age. That's what Trump told us. Not so much. For him and his insiders that are war profiteering on his pronouncements that shift the market, it's the golden age for them, for the Epstein class. For the rest of us, we're trying to figure out how to freaking eat. U.S. inflation will increase to 4.2% on energy shock due to the Iran war, according to the OECD. And you could probably double that number because as we continue to go over here at Weaponized News, it's like cut in half. So you could double it, just say 9% inflation, and you'll be pretty safe. It's probably even higher than that now. And amidst all this, the narcissist megalomaniac Trump is going to go ahead and put his signature on this failed fiat currency known as the US dollar. And the only way they even get people to exchange with it is put a gun in your face. Trump's signature will be added to the US dollar banknote. This is a debt. Like, really? You want your signature on this piece of crap? Federal Reserve debt note? Trump does, because he's a corrupt piece of shit and not a true America First populist reformer. All his actions are evidence of that. Trump's signature will be added to the US dollar banknotes to commemorate the 250th anniversary of US independence. Trump's signature will replace that of the US Treasurer, which has appeared on US dollars since 1861. That's a report out of Vanity Fair. There you go. Wow, so you put your signature on this piece of crap debt note. You're a great hero. Like, you're an embarrassment, honestly. The golden age, it was worth it to replace one Khomeini with another. Over $1 trillion has been wiped out from the U.S. stock market since the beginning of the Iran war. We're on now day 27. So, yeah, this is what Trump means by the golden age. $1 trillion wiped out of stock market value in the last 27 days. due to the Iran war. U.S. stocks have their biggest loss since the war with Iran started, as the S&P drops 1.7% today. Let's take a look at some of these other markets. Everything's getting beat down real bad. Everything's getting beat down real bad here. Let's take a look at some of these market prices. The Dow is closed at, Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at 45,960. So we're the path's clear. DOJ, you can go arrest all the Epstein creeps, but they refuse to do so in the biggest cover-up in American history. Surprisingly enough, the price of oil's hanging tough there at $93.50. We'll have to look at Trump's pronouncement. We're not going to attack their oil infrastructure of Iran for 10 days. I'm sure insiders had foreknowledge of the announcement. So we'll have to see how all the profiteers from this tomorrow. I'm sure they'll be reporting about it. Gold, they beat gold down pretty good. There's reports that Turkey sold off a bunch of gold right before, and that is a contributing factor to the decline in the gold price. Anyhow, gold live trading overseas right now, 4,389, and silver getting beat way down. Silver beat down all the way to $67.88, and Bitcoin getting beat down to 68,659, again in live trading overseas there, as some key indexes on the global economy. Continuing here, here's a Congresswoman, Maxine Dexter. She has subpoenaed Donald Trump Jr. for his corruption. Let's take a listen to her little video about it. What does Kerry say? Depression is here. Indeed, we're in a depression. And they lie and twist it and whatever. But Joe Blow's on the street, yeah, we're in a depression.
I just walked out of committee where I made a motion to subpoena Donald Trump Jr. And let me break down why. Donald Trump is reelected president. Shortly thereafter, his son joins 1789 Capital, a firm that makes investments, strategic investments. Donald Trump Jr. even said that he was very involved in the investment choices that this firm made. After Donald Trump, in March of 2025, waives fiscal responsibility and disclosures for the investments in critical energy minerals, Donnie Jr. and his capital firm invest in a company called Vulcan. Vulcan has 30 employees. It's a startup. It's been minimally producing critical energy minerals. Within 3 months, they have a $670 million contract from the US government, the largest capital investment that the Pentagon has made in this kind of energy investment. Donnie Jr. has now made 10 times his investment in a matter of months. It doesn't matter if all of this is above board. The appearance is that there's corruption involved. I sit on the Oversight and Investigations Committee. My job is to make sure that taxpayer dollars are used effectively and responsibly. No matter how innocent or guilty Donnie Jr. may be, it is our job to investigate. And in fact, the chair, Representative Gozar, made that very point when they were investigating Hunter Biden. So we need to be responsible with your dollars. I made a motion. They not only denied us debate on that motion, they adjourned the meeting so that no further words could be said about this. If there's nothing here to be hiding, then why did they run as soon?
They're corrupt as the day is long, profiteering off of Trump's presidency, his family, and insiders. Surprisingly enough, I thought we were going to break $4, but upon Trump's announcement, apparently we're hanging below $4 on the national AAA average for the price of a gallon of gasoline. Here it is. hanging tough under $4 at $3.98. California, they're still beating us down badly, $5.84 there. Yeah. Trump trying to buy some time with his announcement. GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council, blames Iran for Gulf energy attacks, demands to be included in diplomatic efforts. The Gulf Cooperation Council has accused Iran of fueling regional escalation and warned that its attacks on energy infrastructure threaten Gulf stability, despite Iran's actions being in response to ongoing acts of aggression originating from Gulf territories used to carry out attacks. Secretary General Babwani called out Tehran for, quote, systemic strikes on oil refineries in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE and Kuwait, while insisting Gulf states must be included in any diplomatic efforts to resolve the crisis. Badawami emphasized that while the Gulf countries reserve the right to self-defense, they favor diplomacy over conflict. He also condemned any attempts to redraw regional borders after the war ends and warned the international community to pressure Iran to halt its attacks immediately. This dude. Representing the Gulf Cooperation Council. All right, continuing here. The Iranian Foreign Minister, Argachai, has accused the United States of double standards. Shocking, I know. In its foreign policy, saying that Washington has backed Aardvarkland's siege of Gaza and suspended aid under the banner of security, while at the same time criticizing Iran for acting in self-defense in the Strait of Hormuz. Aardvarkland's crimes are okay, he wrote, while Iran's defense against aggression is condemned. Well, if we didn't have double standards, we would have no standards at all. There you go. Yeah. Don't be antiseptic there, Mr. Iranian Foreign Minister. We praise genocide here in America. Malaysia says its ships cleared to transit the Strait of Hormuz. I remember Malaysia has a giant Muslim population, by the way. Malaysia's Prime Minister announced today that he had spoken with Iran, Egypt, and Turkey and other countries in the region, adding that Malaysia's ships are now permitted to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. In a televised speech, he expressed gratitude to Iran's president for allowing Malaysian vessels to transit the strait. Iraq oil exports dropped by 80% amid U.S. Aardvarkland war on Iran. Baghdad has issued a letter to foreign energy firms to reduce production as the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, but only to some people. And it's only closed if you don't mind being shot at while you cruise by there. That's coming out of little Marco Rubio. It's only closed. And Hegseth, remember, he's like, yeah, it's open. They shoot at you, but it's open. So another big hit to the global energy market here now, with Iraq oil production falling off by an estimated 80%. Oh, but there's more. Out of the EU, European Central Bank lady Lagarde Christina Lagarde said energy disruptions may last for years, and the economic consequences will only gradually become apparent. Well, doesn't this just all tie into net zero? And so we're going to get there one way or another. Maybe we're not going to use climate change. Maybe we're just going to blow up all the energy infrastructure. See, net zero one way or another. As we march toward UN Agenda 2030, goals for sustainable development, one world government agenda. One way or another, we will get to net zero. Apparently, they'll just blow up all the, hey, you guys don't like CO2? We're going to blow up the whole freaking thing. Then you definitely will have no CO2. Fueling the Russian war machine, dare I say, Putin is earning at least, see, we have schizophrenic, we've just become insane people, megalomaniacs at this point. Our foreign policy is bombing. We're fueling the Russian war machine. We're fighting a proxy war against Russia. I guess it's not even a proxy war against Iran. It's a straight-on war against Iran. We're fueling the Russian war machine, backhandedly trying to take out Iran. Now all that business, a lot of it's going to Russia. Russia is earning at least $760 million a day as the war in Iran drives up demand for Russian oil. That's a report out of the UK Telegraph. So talking about a schizophrenic foreign policy, we're bombing these guys oil, so they trying to shut them down. That's driving all the business to Russia, who we're in a proxy war with through Ukraine. What? That's where we're at. Germany will cap petrol stations to one-day price increases starting in April, according to a report out of Bloomberg. The energy squeeze is on. It is on. And again, it's going to have repercussions down the supply chain for the third and fourth world. There's millions of people are going to starve to death because of this. Trump doesn't care. He laughs about it. On to the Epstein files. This is a rather disturbing report. I would say rather disturbing. A controversial browser called Five Nights at Epstein's is spread in U.S. schools where students play as victims trying to escape Jeffrey Epstein's island, fueled by viral videos on platforms like Meta, TikTok, YouTube. It has drawn significant student attention despite attempts to block it. Parents and educators are alarmed, saying the game trivializes real sexual abuse and may desensitize kids, according to a report out of Bloomberg. There's a screenshot from the video game. Well, I would say what is trivializing the abuse and sex trafficking is the Department of Justice. But these clown educators won't point the finger of blame at the actual perpetrators. Epstein file search reports off the X. Epstein didn't just court Leon Black at Apollo. He courted all three billionaire founders. The DOJ files show this penetration of the firm went up to the very top. Apollo has lost $12 million in market cap since being connected with the Epstein files. Ted Lieu, corrupt in his own right, congressman out of Southern California, says Howard Lutnick lied. Lutnick promised he would never be in a room with Epstein again after learning what he did. Then he went into business with him. Then he visited his island. Lutnick is Trump's commerce secretary. Yeah, we documented that very well here. There's video of Lutnick essentially bragging about going on family vacation to Epstein Island, yet he's sitting there as commerce secretary. Trump's Zog government handler, one of many. Anna Paula Luna. More subpoenas are coming in the Epstein investigation. The prison guard got $5,000 cash days before Epstein's death and was never questioned. There was a destruction of evidence. Yeah, they were shredding papers at the jail. So all that evidence is gone. Let's watch this report. I think it's a two-minute video on out of Law and Crime, talking about the deposition of Epstein's accountant firm, Kahn here. Get it, Kahn.
Jeffrey Epstein's accountant, Richard Kahn, the money man, the man who coordinated payments, finances, purchases, managed his estate. He was in the hot seat, grilled by the House Oversight Committee on what exactly he did and what did he know about regarding the deceased sex offender. We're going to get into his responses. We're also going to get into the responses from lawmakers, try to understand what information he shared, as well as what the Epstein files reveal about him. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Now, as we're talking Epstein's money man, let me tell you something. If you owe the IRS more than $25,000 in back taxes, you're going to want to listen up. Does the thought of your back taxes keep you up at night wondering if the IRS is about to levy your bank account or garnish your paycheck? That is where Tax Hardship Center comes in. This is the number1 tax millions in tax debt for plan to fight for the best now and let them show you. Epstein was strictly aware of the terrible and out. In the years that I provided outside accounting and bookkeeping services for Jeffrey Epstein, I was not aware of the terrible and unforgivable things that he did to women and girls. My relationship with Epstein was strictly on a professional level. That is the theme of a big day on Capitol Hill that happened yesterday. Jeffrey Epstein's money man testified in front of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, Richard Kahn. Want to talk about a name that appears over and over and over again in the Epstein files? Epstein's accountant, worked with him since 2005, seemingly managed his financial affairs, handled wire.
I'm sure it's just a coincidence his accountant was named Kahn. Nancy Mace, again, trying to score political points, running for governor there in South Carolina. She says, so far, the Epstein files have exposed one thing clearly in this country: the rich and powerful play by a completely different set of rules. Yeah. I thought that was known, but apparently it's being relearned here now by the illiterate Congress. She's not giving up on this, so I'll give her credit for that. Again, I don't trust any politician. Never, ever again will I. But she says, we authored, this is Nancy Mace, she says, we authored an op-ed on our resolution to force public release of congressional sexual harassment records and how 357 members on both sides of the aisle teamed up to kill it. We should never forget that 357 members of Congress voted against public transparency and disclosure of the Congressional Sexual Harassment Slush Fund. She wrote a piece in Newsweek. I'll give her credit for at least trying to expose that and forcing a vote to put everybody on record so we know it's all right there. It's all right there. So here's her piece in Newsweek. And I give her credit for not giving up on the issue. You know what I mean? So still pushing the issue there, reminding everybody that your Congress are a bunch of sex offenders, essentially. This is a wild video here on the I believe this is Dr. Merrick talking about these are the people that worship Moloch and sacrifice children.
these are people that worship Moloch and sacrifice children. I can't sugarcoat that. Okay, how is it possible that Walt Disney Corporation has anything to do with biomedical and scientific British publication? And here's how that interlinks. It's just crazy. After World War II, Charles Darwin's grandson and Fleming, the guy who discovered penicillin, they went to the British government and they said, hey, we think you need to improve biomedical and scientific publishing house. And so they said, no problem. They combined these two publishing houses, and guess who they put in as the editor? This is where we start getting into the Disney realm. Okay, they hired as the editor of this Robert Maxwell. Now, Robert Maxwell has nothing to do with medical education, right, or scientific publication. But it turns out that the owner of the largest scientific publishing house in England, all during the war and before and after, it was the intelligence services, owned their publishing. So now they hire Robert Maxwell, who was a proven and admitted a spy for the British during World War II, but he was also a Mossad agent because he's buried on the Mount of Olives. Who's Robert Maxwell? He's Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, okay? Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, the Disney Corporation, it turns out, his son is named Robert Maxwell Iger because he was a best buddy of Robert Maxwell. And then you have the whole issue of Ghislaine Maxwell with Jeffrey Epstein and the whole pedophile problem. It turns out the Disney Corporation has cruise ships that would go and do diving things off St. James or the neighboring island. It's all big one incestuous thing, but one of the things that flows through everything, it shows the pedophile connection to all of this. So who they are people that have big enough money for universal censorship, big enough money to come after, doctors all over the world, take over the system to come after us all over the world. And they're connected heavily by funding from pedophilia. And the even more evil thing that they don't talk about is body parts. Is the number one money in the world is selling body parts.
Is that the number one thing in the world? May very well be. May very well be. I think we'll just read this every day here. Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Summers. Email in the Epstein files. Recall, I've told you, I've met some very bad people. None as bad as Trump. Not one decent cell in his body. So yes, dangerous. So all of the bad people that Epstein knows, Trump is the worst, according to that correspondence between Epstein and Larry Summers. There was depositions today. I tried to see if what was coming out of there. Nothing yet, so we'll have to report on that tomorrow. As they're playing a lot of games at the House Oversight Committee, to say the least. From the Department of War, is Skynet live? Looking like we're getting pretty damn close, if it's not already live. The Department of War is replying to the Lever news post here. They say the Pentagon's decision to sideline a leading AI firm over its refusal to support mass surveillance and autonomous weapons was orchestrated by a top official with a multi-million-dollar stake in one of its direct competitors, according to financial disclosures reviewed by the Lever. Department of War Sean Parnell, who's posting videos that our foreign policy is bombing you, his reply to this report, and they found this report apparently convincing enough that they needed to reply to it out of the Department of War. The Department of War maintains a rigorous multi-layered ethics framework that includes financial disclosure reviews divestitures where appropriate, and screening to prevent conflicts of interest. Undersecretary Michael, as with every Department of War official, is in full compliance with all ethical laws and regulations. Any claims otherwise are false. And this is coming from a guy that says our foreign policy is to bomb you. Out of the Department of War. Here's little Marco on international law. He says, for these countries that care about international law, they should be doing something about it. There is no, international law is dead. There is no international law. The rules-based international order is dead. The New World Order is dead. We're in a new era, a new world order. As we continue to report here to you at Weaponized News.
Can the strait be reopened without the use of troops on the ground, boots on the ground by part of the
That's
US?
a tactical military question. I'm not going to, speculate on what it would take. It can be open tomorrow if Iran stops threatening global shipping, which is an outrage and a violation of international law for all these countries that care about international law. They should be doing something about it.
What a smug asshole, man. When he knows that the United States essentially killed international law. Erdogan, Turkey president, he says, in the eyes of aggressors who recognize no principle or values, does it make any difference whether we are Shia, Sunni, or whether we are Turkish, Kurdish, Arab, or Persian? He's talking about the Zionist entity. Nah, they don't care. Maybe Muslims could get it together someday. Probably not, though. Probably not. Hopes of triggering an uprising inside Iran have faded. Aardvark Land and U.S. officials now believe the regime remains firmly in control, and Aardvark Land has stopped targeting internal security forces. Instead, the goal is to weaken Iran's ability to rebuild its military, according to a report out of the Wall Street Journal. The Iranian armed forces announced that several sensitive and strategic Aardvark Land sites have been targeted by Iranian drones since last night. It's ongoing. They're talking about the Iranian nation is hereby informed that the brave sons of the Islamic Republic of Iran Army, in response to attacks on the country's missile and drone capabilities by the enemy, launched drone strikes last night against a number of sensitive and critical sites in Aardvark Land regime at the strategic port of Haifa. Targets included the Center for the Construction and Maintenance of Various Military Vessels in the Eastern Mediterranean, which plays a key and sensitive role in supporting the Aardvark Land naval fleet, as well as large fuel depots for Aardvark Land fighter jets at Haifa port. These are among the primary targets of Iran's army drone operations. And again, not the sex offender map. These are missile siren warnings going off all over Aardvark Land. Missiles from Iran detected heading toward Aardvark Land targets. Not the sex offender map. I know it's often confused, but those are potential Iranian missile target sites as the air raid sirens are blaring. Now we're up to wave 82. This was earlier today. We may have went past wave 82 by now. It's ongoing. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced that in Wave 82 of Operation True Promise 4, it launched combined drone and missile assaults on aardvark land military command and control centers and industries linked to nuclear infrastructure in the southern Dead Sea area, adding that the wave is ongoing and part of a broader escalation that saw 230 operations in 24 hours, including 110 Iranian missile and drone strikes, 87 operations by Hezbollah, and 23 by Iraqi factions against U.S. and aardvark targets. That's in the last 24 hours. They probably have launched another one by now. It's ongoing here now. It doesn't appear like we're going to get old Mountain Goat on. We'll have to reschedule with him. I'm going to have to circle back and get to this California reporting at the end of the show. The Greater Aardvark Land Project is continuing. Aardvark forces raid Syria, raise Aardvark land flag over Syrian town of Hadar. So they are annexing southern Lebanon. They're annexing parts of Syria. They're annexing the West Bank. The Greater Aardvark Land Project is continuing here, raising their flag now in Hadar, Syria. Aardvark Land sends more ground troops into Lebanon as occupation destruction mounts. Phosphorus munitions being used to target civilian infrastructure across southern Lebanon. Here's the map again. Let's take a look at it from antiwar.com. And yeah, they say they're seizing all of this, right, to the Litani River. And they're going to move past that. But for now, they're seizing all of this and killing everybody there, carrying out ethnic cleansing and edging up to genocide on the Lebanese, as per usual. Is this a sign from God, or is this engineered by the weather controllers? Who knows? But out of Dubai, a lightning strike occurred. Hezbollah are not messing around now. They're wearing the death shroud into battle. So that's what we're up against here, sending U.S. troops in there, is this mindset. Hezbollah going into battle, ready to die right now, wearing the death shroud. And they're ready to go and die and become martyrs for the Islamic Revolution. That's what we're up against. White phosphorus strikes by aardvark land devastate southern Lebanon, forcing mass displacement. Human Rights Watch and independent researchers have documented the use of white phosphorus by aardvark land forces over agricultural and civilian areas in southern Lebanon, residential areas in southern Lebanon, confirming the chemical weapons deployment during the early days of the recent aardvark land assault on Lebanon. Satellite imagery and photos verify that M825 155 millimeter shells released white phosphorus over residential areas in southern Lebanon, forcibly displacing roughly 800,000 people. i.e. ethnic cleansing. Experts warn that aardvark land may be using white phosphorus to create a scorched earth buffer zone along the border, clearing fields and forests to expose Hezbollah fighters, according to a report from Al Madeen. Between October 2023 and November 2025, nearly 250 incidences were recorded, with 39% striking residential areas, 17% striking agricultural lands, and 44% striking forest and open terrain. The strikes produce intense fires, thick smoke, and chemical contamination, endangering anyone returning to the region. So they're literally poisoning the land here now, as per aardvark philosophy, you could say. And so they're literally salting the earth with white phosphorus, part of their ethnic cleansing Greater Aardvark Land Project campaign. It's a war crime, internationally recognized, to use white phosphorus. They simply don't care. Sad. This is sad. I don't know if you guys remember this, what do you even call her? Chick dancing, right? Iranian chick. This chick was dancing, happy. The war started. Very sadly, what's her name? Mooney Raimi. She went viral on TikTok with a dance supporting the Iran war. This nonsense, right? This nonsense. Anyway, now she's reporting that her brothers died in Iran, but she still supports the war effort. So very sad, actually. And still blames Iran for her brother's death, even though he was killed by Aardvark Land and U.S. strikes. Aardvark Land claims IRGC naval commander assassinated in overnight strike. Iran's war minister, Aardvark Land's war minister on Thursday said IRGC Navy commander Tang Suri was assassinated in an overnight airstrike targeting senior naval officers. They're saying they whacked this dude. Aardvark Land military sources announced that an Aardvark Land soldier was killed during an exchange of artillery fire with Hezbollah fighters in southern Lebanon last night. The Aardvark Land soldier was identified as Staff Sergeant Greenberg, age 21, of the Golani Brigade's reconnaissance unit. This poor Aardvark soul right here is no longer with us. So the bodies are stacking up here. According to local sources in the West Bank, a young man, Mohammed al-Malhi, was shot dead by Aardvark settlers in the city of occupied Bethlehem. So the ultra-Zionist settlers whacked this Palestinian. Another Aardvark Land soldier was killed and 4 others wounded after an anti-tank missile launched by the Lebanese resistance struck a Merkava tank in southern Lebanon. He is the 4th Aardvark Land soldier to be killed since the launch of the ground invasion into Lebanon. There he is, no longer with us. 5 Palestinians, including a child, were injured in Aardvark Land forces when Aardvark Land forces opened fire on Palestinians in Halawa displacement camp in northern Gaza. 2 Palestinians were injured, and a third has gone missing after another ultra-Zionist settler attack in Raman, east of Turkreem in the occupied West Bank, during the attack, the settlers also stole local sheep. In a leaked cabinet recording, Aardvark Land Chief of Staff Zamir warned that the IDF is nearing a breaking point after the prolonged conflict. He said, "I'm raising 10 red flags." Zamir told ministers, stressing the urgent need for new laws on conscription, reserves, and extended service. The reserves will not be able to hold up under these dramatic circumstances. He added, warning that it won't be long before the IDF is no longer fit for even routine security missions. That's a report out of Aardvark Land in 12. And then a little more on that. Aardvark Land Chief of Staff warns that Aardvark forces are on course to collapse. According to a report out of Ynet, again on this same story, Zamir issued a stark warning during a cabinet meeting declaring that Aardvark forces are on course to collapse into themselves. That's a direct quote from him. The warning came as the government pressed ahead with expanding illegal outposts in the occupied West Bank, further burdening an already depleted military. Zamir highlighted a surge in Aardvark settler violence, forcing the redeployment of additional battalions, while stressing that the growing demands on manpower are incompatible with current capabilities. At the same time, the government has failed to pass legislation addressing recruitment shortages, including laws on ultra-Orthodox conscription, reservist service, and extending mandatory military service. According to Zamir, the situation is approaching a breaking point. The reservists will not hold, he warns, raising 10 red flags over the Army's sustainability. He added that at this pace, Aardvark Land forces may soon be unable to maintain even routine operational readiness. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's all a lie, head fake, disinformation. Maybe it's true. I don't know. I guess that's how we'll get peace. Everybody is dead. Very sad. It just continues stacking up the bodies. All for what? For lies. For lies. Coming out of the Trump administration, his advisors, for lies. It's been established by U.S. intelligence that Iran was no imminent threat to attacking the United States. Just looking for some updates here, and then we'll circle back to California news to close out the show. We're on 83. The Cradle's reporting, according to the Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard, announced Wave 83 of Operation True Promise 4. It is ongoing as we speak. That was in the last hour since we've been live broadcasting to you here now. So it is ongoing here now. They're bombing the hell out of every place. Reports of Aardvark Land being hit, reports of Iran being hit, reports of Lebanon being hit, specifically southern Beirut, residential areas being hit. Missile sirens ring in Tel Aviv. So it's an ongoing war and a disaster at this point as they continue to stack up bodies on all sides. And again, I don't believe the U.S. military is telling us the true toll of damage that we've suffered here now. Let's pray for peace. It's not looking good. Update from Iran International. Anything new there? UAE air defenses say they've intercepted 15 missiles and 11 drones from Iran. Multiple explosions heard across Tehran. Thai flag cargo ship hit in the Strait of Hormuz. Germany stands with Saudi Arabia against Iranian attacks. It's the latest updates. All right, let me get back to California news to wrap up the show. It doesn't look like Mountain Goat is going to be able to join us. Hopefully we can reschedule. Yeah, Carrie, thank you for that. I reported that at the beginning of the show. Trump announced a 10-day pause on attacking energy infrastructure. Iran has not announced any pause whatsoever. All right, let's see here. Another one of these biolabs in California. Follow up on this report from yesterday out of the Los Angeles Times. The Los Angeles Times told us yesterday that what began as a routine check triggered by a persistent odor led to an unsettling discovery: a hidden lab operating inside California warehouse containing dangerous pathogens, including HIV, malaria, bat, and Ebola problems going on there. So that's on the back of finding well, let me read you this report from DropSite. An aardvark citizen was arrested in Las Vegas after police found a cache of weapons, lab equipment, and more than 1,000 samples of unknown liquids at a home tied to a widening biosecurity investigation. The LA Times reported Ori Solman, 55, is accused of illegally possessing firearms and improperly disposing of hazardous waste. Authorities said officers in protective gear removed materials from the home, which were consistent with those found in a separate case in California. The investigation began when a foul smell led officials to a warehouse in Reedley. That's not accurately being reported. It wasn't a foul smell. It was the hose hanging out of the side of the building. I went and saw it personally, but I guess we'll give them a pass on that misreporting. Continuing, where they discovered a hidden lab containing thousands of biological samples, 1,000 lab mice, and evidence of at least 20 infectious agents, including SARS, hepatitis, and dengue fever. Prosecutors say Chinese national Jai B. Zhu ran a scheme from there, importing bat tests from China and selling them as American made, and a congressional report flagged over $1.3 million in unexplained payments to Chinese banks tied to the operation. Investigators found Zhu had listed a Las Vegas house as bail collateral and called it hundreds of times over the past year, making it a key lead that led police to raid the Sugar Spring Drive property in Southern California. where Ori Solomon was identified as the manager. I believe that's a property out of Las Vegas. And now another one of these labs has been found in Southern California. We're up to 3. We got the Reedley lab, we got the Las Vegas lab, now we got Southern California lab doing homemade what? That's going on. How many more of these are going on around the country? We'll keep following this story. More from California. Oversight Republicans. I wanted to talk to Santa Cruz Mountain Goat about these issues, but he's not here with us. So according to the House Oversight Committee, Republicans are launching an investigation into rampant hospice fraud in California. Reports show Gavin Newsom's administration knew about the fraud for years, but continued to bill taxpayers and exploit vulnerable patients. And still, no one in the government will ever get in trouble for any of this fraud. Here's a ZBS News report on said hospice fraud here in California.
An update on a CBS News investigation following our recent report on fraud in the hospice system in California. House Republicans say Congress is now looking into it. Our team found that more than 700 hospice programs in Los Angeles County triggered red flags for potential fraud, according to the state's own definition. The House Oversight Committee, citing our reporting, called it, quote, alarming evidence of fraud.
I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. Here's Newsom trying to dance around because he knows the progressive Democrats on the ground do not support aardvark land one little bit. And he's trying to dance around this as he runs for president on the Democrat ticket. Here he is today. I do not like the direction of that nation under Bibi Netanyahu. So it's just and they're framing it as, it's just the right-winger Bibi. He's the problem, you see. There's a kinder, gentler, liberal Zog, then everything would be okay, and we'll totally love the genocide then. I don't see how he sells this to Democrat voters, but he's trying.
And it's apparent to everyone now that, the impacts as it relates to what's happening in Lebanon, et cetera. And look, I get the Hezbollah. I understand what's going on with the Houthis and all the sort of the proxies that Iran has been behind, et cetera. But I do not like the direction of that nation under Bibi Netanyahu. And this coming from a guy that flew out after October 7th and not only arrived in Israel, but went to the hospitals, met with people that were the victims of terrorists and terrorism who survived on October 7th, and went there with a field hospital for the people of Israel because of my empathy and my relationship to that state of Israel. And so, you got to be able to separate those things, but we've got to be more clear, I think.
So there you go, Democrats. Newsom, another Zog puppet. Pick your puppet on the left, pick your puppet on the right. It don't matter. At the end of the day, they're all serving our ultimate master, Zog, apparently. That's all the reporting I have today. Let's pray for peace. It's only getting worse. It's not getting better. The war is escalating at this point, and just Orwellian level lying and disinformation coming out of our White House. Hopefully we can reschedule Santa Cruz Mountain Goat and go over some more details about all of this insane corruption in California. Okay, let's go to the channels now as we close out today. Over to the Odysee, I see John Gur Huffman. And thank you guys for tuning in there. Let's see. Witkoff succeeded in dividing his co-ethics. I was trying to read it and it jumped there. Sorry about that. I don't know why the chat jumped on the Odysee. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. John says Trump's entire cabinet is made up of rats and thieves. Indeed, I think that was one of the stipulations to become part of Trump's cabinet is you had to be a criminal, right? Apparently. Let's see. Gur said the whole system is self-incriminating and getting worse rapidly. Yeah. I thought it was only 39 trillion so far, but it is not a debt that can be paid. They're having comments back and forth there. Pretty good. Let's see. If the Saudis would allow passage, the Yemenis would avenge the Palestinians. Just let those motivated fighters cross into Aardvark land. I saw Yemen was putting out talking shit too. They're saying send the Marines to Yemen first, so you can prepare to fight the Iranians in Iran. I seen them putting out that message, taunting the U.S. military, essentially. The Houthis out of Yemen there. I did see that messaging earlier today. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee and keeping that chat lively. Thank you everybody for tuning in on X, Kick, Twitch, Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. Let's see here. Let me go over to these other chats. See what I got. Let's see. Let's start with YouTube. Eileen says, hope you pray at night. Sam, ask for forgiveness for all you're degrading of people. I will. And I will pray for peace too. That's on, and then Mac on the YouTube. Let's see. On the Rumble, we had Karen, Fat Bob, Carrie. Thank you guys for tuning in there. Chloe, Denver giving us some comic relief. We need that. For some comic relief, 2 pro MMA women fight 1 unrestrained beer-bellied man. We do need some comic relief. Carrie said, my gut was right in 1991. The Middle East war began for next 75 years. Oh, man. Yeah, I reported that yesterday. Iran targeted the white phosphorus factory, chemical factories. Yeah, I did report on that yesterday. Make mustard gas great again. Yeah, they just put it in your medicine now, as we have reported here. Just like napalm, the white phosphorus. Carrie said, yeah, it's bad, man. It's real bad what they're doing. Let's see here. They're talking about Thomas from Alpha Mega Energy. They say he's always mad about stuff. We may have him. He had a big, he was telling me he wants to come back on and talk about some big fraud report that he's uncovered in cryptocurrency. So we may have Thomas from Alpha Mega Energy back here soon. He was telling me about he's uncovered a big old fraud that he wants to report on. So we may be having him back on soon here. Yeah, Trump announced 10-day pause of attack on energy infrastructure. Let's, I guess, let's read that out before we close today. We'll go right to the White House for what it's worth. The latest communique. Oh, now they're putting out all these. Well, here's from the White House putting out these these pixelated images. It's all fun to them. If you stand back a little bit, you can see them. It's all fun, right? They're killing people right now. Bodies are stacking up. But the clowns running the White House social media are posting this nonsense. Where's the official statement by Trump? Is it even on here? The White House doesn't even publish it. The White House doesn't even publish it on their X account, but they do take the time to publish these nonsense pixelated images, continuing to run Q psyops. It's just asinine and idiocy at this point. But I guess there's some true believers out there still following this, acting as if Trump's a righteous America First leader. Nothing could be further from the truth. He's a con man, liar, war criminal. Trying to find that the post from Trump here now. I know I had it up because I read it. Yeah, our foreign policy is, here's the post. Yeah, as per Iranian government request, Iran doesn't even agree with that, but okay. Please let this statement serve to represent that I'm pausing the period of energy plant destruction by 10 days to Monday, April 6th, 2026 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Talks are ongoing despite erroneous statements to the contrary by the fake news media. Well, I'm reporting to you what the foreign minister and these other people in the Iranian government are saying. Maybe you should look at what they're saying, Trump, instead of getting your briefings from Fox News. So they're not going to blow up, or at least U.S. allegedly, according to that post by Trump, is not going to blow up Iranian energy infrastructure for the next 10 days. Nothing stopping the aardvarks, you know what I mean? So we'll see as Trump attempts to stabilize the oil market. Let's see here. Any more comments there? Let's see. No humor can put any of this into proper perspective. Indeed, we're past gallows humor at this point, I guess. Fat Bob says Yemen never talks shit. They do. They back it up, though. Hey, they back up a lot of the shit they talk, though. But that's wild. They're saying, send the Marines here for a test battle before you go to Iran. It's bold, right? So, very bold. And Hezbollah wearing their burial shrouds into battle. So, the Assistant Attorney General to the United States out of the Justice Department is bragging about extrajudicial assassinations, executions, killings, which by all definitions is murder. Religious fanatics on all sides are all wanting to bring about the end times, the end of the world apocalypse, Armageddon. That's not good. On day 27 of the Iran war. And we're getting Orwellian level propaganda and disinformation out of our own government at this point. It's extremely disturbing. Let's pray for peace. As always, everybody, do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Thursday evening. And we'll be back here on Friday for more Weaponized News.